what's up? Welcome back to episode 2 of the Post Trauma Pod. Stoked to be here. As always, it's Pete, Jeff, Justin. We're here to talk about the sport of Jiu Jitsu and the role it's played in our lives. And we are super stoked, very fortunate here today to be joined by our buddy and training partner, JP. And
great to be here.
Thank you. Thanks for coming, man. And I'm going to say what our Professor Santino says every time that any day JP's on the mat's a good day. So we're stoked to have him here.
Likewise.
Hey, guys. Again, welcome back. Just real quick, we are not mental health professionals. If you're struggling, if you need help, reach out. You know, there's many ways to get help. Please get help. Don't be a statistic. And also reach out and check in on your friends. And
we're always, as always, we put links in the description box. So there's a ton of resources.
I think you have to do like this.
Yeah, sorry, like this. Like the kids. Smash that like button, guys. Like and subscribe. It really helps. All right.
So let's get into this. This is JP. He's been in the Army. He was a captain. JP, I'll let you start off. Tell us a little bit about yourself, buddy.
Sure, man. Thanks, guys, for having me. It's awesome to be here. Really important work that you're doing right now. This is important work, saving lives. So yeah, my name's JP. I come from Bethel Park. I grew up there, 25 years before I left for the Army. Went to college, Allegheny College, local stuff, so Yinzer. And I had grown up my entire life. I'd been like, yeah, I want to serve in some capacity. Obviously, I'd been in the Boy Scouts, all this stuff. So I was mentally prepared for that. And then I fractured my wrist senior year of high school. And so that dream promptly died, right? The dream died because they were saying you're PDQ'd, permanently disqualified because I have retained hardware in my wrist. And so I let it go, right? And graduated college. When I got out of college, my buddy Russ Kurtz got killed in Iraq. And I remember it was like 2007. And I was sitting in my apartment. And I remember thinking to myself, what an absolute, piece of garbage. This is in my mind, right? Yeah. Piece of garbage I was, that he went and died. And I'm sitting in here working some corporate job, worrying about sales numbers. So, that was the impetus to change the permanent disqualification into a waiver situation where I could get in the service and serve. That took 8 months.
Wow.
Of going to MEPS, talking to recruiters, getting them to sign off on this stuff on my wrist, right? To get in and do the thing. So I get in.
And this was pretty much at the time when if you had a heartbeat,
they took you.
Mm-hmm. So for it to take 8 months for him to be able to get rough. In, because this is the time they were taking anybody and everybody.
This is prime GWAT era.
Yeah.
Vintage,
right during the surge.
Vintage GWAT.
Yeah.
And that was what's crazy to me too, was because it's all because I have this retained hardware in here. They just got stuck on that. And they were like, I remember this. They had a guy they called Dr. No. There's no way you can serve. There's no way you can effectively lead, because I wanted to be a 09 Sierra OCS candidate. And he was like, there's no way. And I was like, take me to the next level, buddy. Let's go. Let's keep on elevating this. Eventually we got it to work, right?
And that dude probably never served a day in his life.
No. Scumbag. Total scumbag. Just a guy that's there to say no. Literally, I don't know how you can be a physician and know that people call you Dr. No and continue to do what you're doing. But that guy, we got past him regardless. They needed people. Bottom line, GWAT, we just started the second war. So, they needed people. I did the OCS route, so I went to basic training, went to OCS, graduated, distinguished undergrads, or distinguished honors from OCS, then went to field artillery officer basic course, then airborne school. And then I found my way to my first.
So for everybody who doesn't know, explain what OCS is.
Officer Candidate School. So there's 3 ways to get into in the military as an officer, right? And the difference between an officer and, say, a non-commissioned officer, an enlisted person, is there's financial responsibilities most times with what the officers are doing, and they deal with life, limbs, safety, those kinds of things, the decisions that can put you in jail, right? Senior NCOs are very similar in that respect, so senior non-commissioned officers. So as a 09 Sierra, I had a college degree, right? And so I could go through this 14-week course after basic training, right? So which was OCS. And there they basically take you through either 4 years ROTC or 4 years at West Point. They cram that all into 14 weeks. It's a real adventure. Made it through that, but it was important because in that instance I learned to be taught and guide my guiding principles through my NCOs. That was the most important impacting experience of my life as a soldier and as a leader of soldiers. A healthy respect and understanding of perspective for the senior non-commissioned officers and all the non-commissioned officers you have on your team. And so that was laid into me from the beginning. So by the time I got through field artillery school and OCS and all these other things and airborne school, which is paratrooper training, and up to Alaska, which is where my first unit was, they were in the hopper to deploy to Afghanistan, to a place they had been in West Paktika province, and East Paktika too, the whole battalion footprint. But they were going back to a place that was not great. It was a bad scene, and that deployment lived up to everything you would expect. I mean, I saw my friends literally torn to pieces. I saw people I really, really cared about and made decisions to do things with that, passed away on those missions. So really, kinetic, if you understand the military term, kinetic versus non-kinetic is you're shooting with guns every day or you're working through the people to solve your problems. Essentially, it's an easy way to understand it. We were in a kinetic fight every day. And it was a really, really hard deployment. It changed me as a person. Even before I came home, on mid-tour leave, I was engaged to my wife on mid-tour leave. When I came home, I had already been blown up in an IED. I had almost died I'd been in a building that had been hit by a couple mortars, and there was shrapnel metal directly, it blew up right behind us, and there was shrapnel metal sticking in the wall directly in line with me. So I was oh, somebody's trying to tell you something. So I came home and I got married. I said, we have to get married when I come home because I'm gonna die, and you will be SOL if I die and we're just engaged. Right. And so we ended up doing that. We get married. And then, like I said, the deployment was rough. A lot of people dying, a lot of suffering, a lot of fighting. And that happens all at once. And then all of a sudden you're just home. One plane flight, 2 plane flights, you're home.
Yeah.
And for me, that messed me up in ways that I don't know if I'll ever understand. But it was that tremendous weight, and you guys can understand this, that tremendous weight of feeling like a failure. You didn't bring everybody home. You didn't maximize the survival rate. And I get it, it's war, right? And that happens, it's the way it is, but it's a whole different thing to know those people, to have seen guys on the ground vomiting into the medic's mouth as the medic's trying to shove their brain back into their skull, and I'm sorry, it's vivid, but it's real. It really, really changed me, and that set me off in a period of struggle that was several years. And during that period of struggle, my older sister died in a single car accident, which that was at the point when I made the decision I had to come off active duty, because as an airborne, especially as an airborne paratrooper leader, you got to be ready to be wherever you are and just be alone for several days and fight that fight alone. And I knew after my sister died, there was no way. I would not have, I was not reliable enough to go into combat with these guys that are trusting you with their lives. So I made the decision to transition to civilian life. And I did that. I tried to go back into the corporate America sector. That was not awesome. The culture didn't work for me anymore. I'm not a cutthroat person anymore. I don't think like that. I think more in terms of collaboration, team building, and love, right? So I ended up working for the federal government. Found a home in the federal government with the Corps of Engineers, and doing public affairs work. So I get to be out there talking about the good things the public affairs are doing, right? Yeah. And or that Corps of Engineers are doing, responses and other things nationally that we do. But in the background, that whole time, you have this subtle darkness that's always there. And it's a matter for me of whether that darkness is going to creep out of that corner and start to penetrate into the larger room that is my brain, or if today it's going to be an okay day and I don't have to necessarily worry about that too much. Well, for me, at that point in my life, it was every day was a fight to want to be alive. And I mean, I got to the point of suicide. I had a service dog at that time, and luckily he did what he had to do to handle that situation and stop me from doing some stuff that maybe was not good. Yeah. Definitely not good. But that also had an impact on me. That moment, like I'm sitting there with this, you know, right after this serious event where you're like, okay, with not being here anymore. And I said, I got to change. This has got to stop. Yeah. Because like, this is not good.
I don't mean.
No, you're good.
But I had a very similar experience, not to the point where I almost unalived myself, but what you just said, like, it can't be like this anymore.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. And it's, you know, you hear it from addicts that are trying to get clean, or, you know, people like us, or, you know, people like you just have to hit rock bottom.
Yep. Yeah, 100%.
So, a little bit of a question for you is, sure. When was that turning point for you? When did you recognize that you needed to make a change?
That moment. In that moment specifically, I knew in my heart, I said, what I'm missing is the people around me that I know that I need around me, like the brothers and the people that I had when I was in the military that allowed me to feel safe, and especially after we came back, to feel safe and feel like I didn't have to be, you know, arms up, ready to go at all times because I was by myself. And so I had to figure out, how do I do that? I'm a grown man, 35 or 34 years old at that point, whatever it was. How do I go make friends? That was the question. How do I go make friends? How do I find common ground where new people and I can connect and we can share our experience and live through each other and our experiences, and at the same time get better? And so initially I found the Pittsburgh Warriors, which is a disabled veterans hockey team. And their whole deal is a similar kind of, we want to put veterans outside of their comfort zone into a place where they feel safe to do their thing. And the issue with the disabled veteran hockey is it's very much the keystone to building a person up to being able to step out and go do things that they wouldn't have normally done. And for me, that was my experience. Yeah. Because after I'd been with the Warriors, and those guys are amazing, I encourage every veteran to look up Warrior hockey. It's another thing to look up, and I'll reference some other stuff too. But it really allowed me to have the strength to say, what do I want to do? What kind of things have I told myself that are impossible, that I'll never do, I'll never be able to do, that I want to go after? And jiu-jitsu had always been in the background, right? Yeah. Ever since I came off active duty, I was like, man, I wish I had do jiu-jitsu, but I figured that ship had sailed. And then I heard about WeDefy. And WeDefy Foundation is a foundation. They provide combat-related disabled veterans with jiu-jitsu tuition for up to a year and multiple gis to be able to use, all for free. Yeah. So you can get into the sport, try it out, figure out if it works for you, and that kind of thing. And so for me, I had high expectations because hockey had been very good for me. Yeah. It had taught me how to kind of come back out of my shell a little bit and put myself out there to people that I knew I could trust. And so jiu-jitsu was more challenging because there was a lot of people I didn't necessarily know. No. Right? And so, like, but it was crazy because, like, you and I connected because you're a hockey player as well. You and I connected because we played hockey. You coach hockey now. Yeah. You know what I mean? You and I connected because we're sexy. Like, that's just how it works. I'm serious. Like, so they are. Yeah. That was the
chiseled jawlines.
That's it.
I mean, like, the beard.
And so, the most important person in that whole process is Santino. Yeah. He's the guy, for me, he would not let me leave. Right? He would not allow that to happen because he knows how positive the jiu-jitsu is for me. And so and I know you guys feel this, he creates a culture of not just inclusivity, but a family culture. Like, I joke with my regular training partner, Kurt, And we always say he's like an Italian restaurant owner. Like he's out there, you know. And I miss that so much in my life because, like,
Dude, that's so accurate.
Because he's out there and he comes around, and as you're doing this stuff, he's talking to you, and he knows you.
Yes.
He knows you.
It amazes me constantly how he knows everybody.
Everyone.
Yes.
Everybody.
I mean, it's a running joke between the three of us that, like, there's like about 3 white belts that I know their names.
Exactly.
And 2 of them are in this room.
Like, and he just knows everyone. And here's the thing, though. It's every person he talks to, you can see the joy in his eyes talking about jiu-jitsu. Yeah. Wherever they are in their journey, you can see the joy in his. That's what I mean. Like, and what happens as a result of that, everyone in the gym is like that.
Yes.
And I give a lot of credit for him to his parents.
Yeah,
a lot of you guys weren't there.
Yeah.
Really, when they kind of ran the show, but when I started, it was Sonny and Lisa, and that was it.
Yeah.
Man,
I mean, they had other instructors that taught like karate and kids karate, but like it was Sonny that taught every single jiu-jitsu class, 6-7 days a week. He taught every class.
Yeah.
it's amazing, man.
You know, he was probably, I think he got his black belt when he turned 50, which is about when I started.
Wow.
Man,
So that kind of workload at that age, and
that's wild.
for people that don't know, and I don't, Santino's a lot like his dad, and the way I kind of compare it is, Santino's like his dad, but with like the edges sanded off.
Yeah.
Santino got some of the more nice part of his demeanor from his mom. His dad is a great guy, but he's the typical like Italian Pittsburgh guy.
Yes.
He's just the not the YouTube guy, but like just the Italian, you know,
Exactly.
Pittsburgh hardworking, you know.
Business. All business. You know what I mean?
So, JP, for everybody out there, if you could describe our gym in one word, what would it be?
Family. No question.
Didn't even hesitate.
No, yeah, it's fact. It's a fact. It's not a guess. It's not like, and I put a lot, and so I'm weird, right? Like, I'm strange. I'm not necessarily, like, I seem very social. I seem very social, but I'm a weird guy because I can be shy and quiet, and I like to sit and observe, and that's the officer in me comes out just watching and seeing how things are going. And, like, I'm not kidding. I don't care. I said this yesterday. We were warming up, and, like, I had, like, Sammy on one side. I think I had Kurt behind me. I had Mike Medeja up front of me. Like, and I was like, guys, we're all, like, BSing while we're warming up. I'm like, guys, I'm surrounded by, like, all of my friends. This is amazing. This is the best thing
It's
ever.
my goal during warm-ups to try and make you laugh every time.
Well, you can do it, Mike. I will do it. I have no problems with that. That's, like, it's this, right? Yes. It's this common experience. That's what makes this gym different. And that's not to take away from any other gym, but I know that, like, for someone that was looking to continue to extend themselves into family members and new people in their lives that was going to help them get better, to be a better person, to be healthier and happier and find more joy in life. I mean, holy crap. Like,
well, especially...
I'm sorry, can I ask you a question about that, man? Because, like, you know, obviously anyone watching this, and then like, you know, the first time I met you, man, like, we talked and connected, and like, big fucking bear hug every time I see you, right? You're a personable dude. You've also shared with me, I hope it's okay but like, there are times, like, if Kurt's not going to be there, like, dude, are you coming tonight? Like, so, like,
tell him why.
Yeah.
Tell him why.
Because you still feel some anxiety, man.
Well, not just some. What did I say? If I didn't have you or Kurt there,
you wouldn't
show up.
Yeah, and which is so wild to hear because you're this confident, present dude, but you're still battling that. Well, man?
I'm vulnerable. Like, and so, like, it's odd to feel like you're functioning. I get it. Everyone here can understand that. To feel like you're functioning through life normally. And to feel just like quiet desperation.
Yeah.
Of like, what am I doing? Where am I going? Why does this matter? How is it affecting me? How am I doing for my family? That kind of stuff. Like, for me, I don't know, man. I just, if it's those special connections that draw me in and let me feel like I can be free. I can be not good at this.
Yeah.
Everyone's pretty terrible at jiu-jitsu for the most part. I mean, and I say that lovingly because we're all trying to get better every day. but like it's just nice to have people there that if you show up, you're going to be okay.
Yeah.
You're not going to have to work through and try to figure out, do I seem normal? Is today been a bad day? Am I in some kind of headspace where I'm not as present, or like I'm not as joyous, or I'm like overly joyous because I'm having like the opposite, I will have people there that understand me.
Yeah.
So like that is it's a very real thing.
Yeah.
So I mean that, like, I can't just work with everybody because I'm too shy and too like cognizant of my shortcomings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's what's crazy about Steel City Martial Art. I go with any one of you guys now. Like,
Yeah.
and
We'll remind you.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean?
By the way, did you guys see what he did there? Did you see what he did? The officer thing. He quoted Thoreau, the Quiet Desperation. He just wants to remind you he's a college boy.
I have 2 degrees.
I love you guys. I love you guys.
But I think also with the jiu-jitsu, opposed to like the Warriors program, is with jiu-jitsu, you get people that are civilians, right? It's not just all military.
Correct. Yeah, it's different.
So you are opening up to civilians because we all have some sort of trauma. We all have some sort of ghosts in our closet. Baggage it all connects to it. We all have the same stuff. So, as military, I know it's hard for a lot of military people to open up to civilians because they always think in their head, what do they know? How, they don't understand where I'm coming from. They don't understand the darkness. But in reality, you're starting to figure out they do.
Well, yeah, and trauma is trauma. Like, whether you were in war, you were getting mortared in Afghanistan, or
car accidents,
or you were assaulted,
or an abusive relationship, or whatever, dude. It's
your body doesn't care what kind of trauma.
My therapist explained that to me, like when we finally kind of arrived at like, hey, here's what's going on with you, and I was like, I never went to war, and he goes, your brain doesn't care, stupid. Yeah. Those fight or flight chemicals can be triggered by any number of things, and it could be gunshots or it could be a fight, or whatever. But those things are the same, and the physiological effect on your brain is the same across the board. Yeah.
So
and you don't go through. Nobody gets to go through life without experiencing some kind of trauma.
Yeah.
And I to be clear about that word, because it gets overused, I think right now, like we're talking about like the stuff, like real life shit, not like, the Gen Z, like they call my order wrong. It's Starbucks. I'm traumatized. Like we get it.
Yeah.
But I think like everyone in life, you get, everyone has some shit happen at some point.
Yeah.
So JP, when you do jiu-jitsu, what makes it so effective to help you deal with those ghosts, the darkness in your closet?
So it gives me an outlet, not only for physical exertion, right, which you would expect, and emotional connection to the people I'm working with and around, but it gives me the space to be not good at something, but allow myself to get better, and to be able to work to get better, and have that goal of, like at the beginning, I think this is a pretty common experience, people think in terms of belts and stripes. But at some point, you just realize that you just want to just be good at jiu-jitsu. You want to be functional at jiu-jitsu. Like the belts be damned, stripes be damned. It doesn't matter. What matters is, are you adhering to the teaching that you're learning? And are you implementing those skills in the situation where it can benefit you? So like on the jiu-jitsu mat. So like for me, it's a functional exercise to tactically exercise some of that anxiety that comes, a lot of that anxiety that comes with just being alive every day.
Yeah.
Like if I can do this, if I can go through from someone fully mounted to an omoplata finish all the way through, like all the steps that you have to go through to get to that point, escaping the guard, getting a position to be able to pull the omoplata, all that, moving through the action mover itself. Man, like I surprise myself because I'm there, and I'll say it to Kurt or I'll say it to you from wherever. I'll be like, this is crazy. This is like 35 steps, but here we are. It just flows. And it's one of those things for me that if I'm in that flow state, which I generally am when I'm at the gym, because of the people and environment, it just allows me to find joy.
Yeah.
Right? So that's the biggest thing, is the joy. So if you hear me out, like some people get pissed off Sorry, I know, demonetized. Some people get really
We've already swore enough.
if you're at the gym with me, you know I'm there because I'm usually laughing or like. And there was a funny meme that was going about this on the internet. Sorry, bro, I'm gonna laugh because I literally that is a time. If you hear me laughing on the mats, you can 100% know that that's a person experiencing true joy.
Yeah,
true joy, like as if you were a kid on Christmas, just in the moment, here with people they care about, fully safe, and just having fun. It's like the dream. Like back at the beginning, I looked at the show The League, right, as a guy, and I watched it, and it was a great show because there's about a group of friends that are adult friends navigating how to be adults, parents, all this stuff. And I said, I want that.
yeah.
And, it's been a journey to get to here, but I have that now.
Yeah.
I have that. Look where I'm at on a Sunday.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Can we go back to something we talked about a moment ago? Because you touched on something, and I think, because we're the newest guys in the room, right? Like that first stripe, you're like, oh, God, I can't wait. And then you get it, and then you get another one, and you're like, oh, that's cool. And then, not to brag, you and I both got our 4 stripes yesterday. It was super stoked,
guys.
super hyped about that.
I'm going to smash both of you.
Yeah, I know. Dude, I was texting with my buddy.
Locks forever now.
Yeah. I was texting with my buddies back home about like, hey, I'm going to be testing this over for my blue belt, and they're all like more senior than me. And one of them just sends me the meme of Billy Madison, shaking the kid's head. Say as long as you can. And I was like, yeah, I get it.
Yes.
But I got like choked up. In a weird way. I was like, what are you doing, dude? Because you were leaving the gym, and I told you, I just talked to Santino. Like,
I cried in my car.
Yeah, dude. Like, what?
I
Holy
do
shit.
that almost after every class.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, cried in my car.
But here's the crazy shit is that, and I really thought about this a lot yesterday, because I was like, there's a lack of like rites of passage, I think, culturally in the United States right now.
Okay.
And that's why I think you see so many young men that are so they don't know what to do. They're like, we finished high school, now what? College isn't a good bet anymore. Like, what do I do?
Can't afford it now.
Yeah, and you see a lot of young men just like, I don't know what to do with myself. And like, I think the like those demarcations of like, hey, today you were marginally less shitty than you were yesterday, and we just wanted to reckon you still suck, but we wanted to let you know you suck a little bit less. And those little marginal increases in the recognition, like we don't have enough of that, and it means shit to people. Yeah. It does.
And here's a piece of tape to celebrate it.
Yeah, and that's the funny thing is that like to an outsider, they're like, it's a piece of electric or fucking medical tape. Why does that matter so much to you? And it's like, you don't get it, and that's okay. You're not going to understand until you like come show up, and maybe it's for you. Maybe you feel like this is what I was looking for, and maybe it isn't, and that's okay too. But like for dummies like us, it means something.
Well, yeah, because all the work you put in, right? Jiu-Jitsu is a really hard sport. It's not an easy sport.
It's very technical, very specific. Like,
yeah.
And it's not, like now a lot of people like we talked before, I have 400 channels on Netflix. I have Netflix. I have so much instant gratification available.
Yeah.
In martial arts in general, especially jiu-jitsu with less belts, you don't get that. No. You might go, I think I trained for a year before I got my first stripe. Mm-hmm. Because I'm, really bad. But, what other sports or what other activities are you going to do for a year without any recognition?
Correct. And still
wrestling. Sorry.
Yeah, but keep showing. But yeah,
as an adult.
But then keep showing up. And what's the reason you keep walking through that door to know that like, yep, I'm gonna get smashed today, but I just keep showing up.
I can remember. I was thinking about this the other day. I can remember like when I was in your guys' shoes, maybe even like earlier in white belt, like. There'd be nights I'd be driving home and be like, I only got submitted 3 times tonight.
Yeah, it's not bad. Yeah. I survived some of the time.
I wasn't as bad.
Well, what's funny is that you guys are talking about this, right? So we did a lot of analysis in the Warrior organization on the hockey side to figure this out. And we say that there are trends that it's the micro successes and micro failures that bring people back. Yeah. You're not failing on such a spectacular level that I hate this. You're like, oh, I just have to adjust the way my body positioning is to fix this particular aspect. having something to be able to tailor that specific, and it's again why hockey also works, because it's all micro successes and micro failures lead into a larger objective.
Can I ask something about that?
Yeah.
So that's really interesting that you guys did that. And so I think about like you or some of the, like actually just talking with all three of you guys and knowing what your experiences in the military. And it's like, you guys were highly trained individuals going into highly difficult environments. Yeah. And then to your point, it's like, now it's all over and you're home now. And the little, like, putting yourself outside of your comfort zone is difficult. Yeah. And the idea that, even a micro failure is necessarily a good thing, right? Yeah. Because I'm interested to know, like that transition of like, you go from this like high speed dude to I'm home and I don't know what to do and everything's scary. Like I'm putting words in, but like I was fortunate. Fortunate and unfortunate. That entire bridge of time for me was filled with traumatic events, people dying, bad things happening. And so by the time I got on the other end, say 3 years after I got out of the service and could breathe, again. Like, I don't know. I was more happy than anything else, but I think, again, it goes back to, I was just facing failure in my mind, failure after failure after failure after failure. And like, after enough people start dying around you, you think that way. It's a human natural. It's overwhelming.
Yeah, correct. Because you're like, well, everyone that comes around me dies. Yeah. So this sucks.
And then too, you start to feel numb to it, and then you feel.
Yeah.
You feel like that's the realization.
Grief and guilt.
I am so messed up. I am not sad about this person dying.
So that's why the micro successes and micro failures are important, especially for veterans, right?
Yeah. Right.
Because veterans, more than any other population, we need purpose. Yeah. Right? It doesn't necessarily have to be rooted in our moral fiber or whatever. We need purpose. Yeah. We need activity that leads to an expectable result. And that's not because we don't enjoy mystery or whatever. It's because it allows us to be in the sweet spot that we were trained to be in.
Right.
You know, we were honed hundreds of thousands, even millions of dollars invested in this training to be able to put you in a window that when you're in that window, you're unstoppable.
Yeah. Right.
That level of achievement.
That's what I was trying to get at, and I just didn't say it right because I'm dumb. But I've heard from friends who like the movie The Hurt Locker. There are parts of that that are like so unrealistic. Bullshit.
It's ridiculous.
But the scene at the end.
I think you and I talked about it.
Yeah, you and I talked about it with my neighbor Jim because he's been deployed 7 times because he's insane. Yeah. And he goes, that scene is so accurate. You go from an environment where you're getting shot at and everything makes sense because you've been trained to be there. Yep. And then it's go home and it's like, just pick a cereal. And it's like, I don't know. Yeah.
So I think jiu-jitsu teaches you learn how to fail again, because when we fail in jiu-jitsu, we learn
safely.
Because we as military, right? When we're in that environment, when you're in that environment, you can't fail, because if you fail, that's someone's life. That's someone's husband. That's someone's son. That's someone's daughter. So if you fail, there's no room for failure. Yeah. So when you come out and become a civilian, you have so much stress on you, just little failures that really it's not going to affect anything. Yeah. Drives you nuts and gets you in a dark place. Whereas jiu-jitsu, when you go to jiu-jitsu, it kind of retrains your brain to say it's okay to fail again. You're not in that stressful environment anymore.
Yeah. And the stress that you're introducing upon yourself is of your choosing.
Yeah.
It's like, because I agree wholeheartedly. Like,
no, you said what I was going to say.
You are at the choosing of, hey, I want to invest myself in this much. And with jiu-jitsu, what happens is once you start to become like comfortable with the fact that it is complicated and technical and kind of hard all the time, like once you accept that and just lay in that water, it becomes even more interesting. Yeah. Somehow, whenever at some point as a white belt, whenever you're rolling with people on open mats, at some point you're like, oh no, I'm waiting for him to do X so I can set him up to do Y. Like, and that just happens naturally. And when that happens, speaking of my experience, it changes everything. Because you're like, no, wait. You're telling me this is really like a superpower. And it's like, well, yes, it is. It's for real. And like,
you learn how to be Spider-Man.
Exactly. Well, like, you understand how to pace yourself in the most intensive environments. One-on-one conflict is the most intense environment. And I think for military guys, I think it's nice. I am okay learning through pain.
Yes.
I am okay with it. I don't care. It doesn't bother me.
Negative reinforcement.
Exactly. And in jiu-jitsu, it's not necessarily negative, but like, guess what? If you roll with an Andre, for instance, at the gym, and you are doing some nonsense, he's going to take care of the nonsense. He's going to handle you. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you're going to understand and learn why you shouldn't be doing whatever you're doing in terms of in the jiu-jitsu role itself. But like, again, it's of your choosing. You don't always have to go roll with the Andres. You can roll with a guy like me. I just laugh and happy all the time on the mats. You know what I mean? Like,
so when you first started jiu-jitsu, when you started to fail, because once again, jiu-jitsu's hard, you fail, but we learn from that. We have to wire our brains to train like that.
Correct.
So when you first started with that failure, how did you overcome that failure? Because, like I said, I related to the military as like when we fail in the military, people die, people get hurt. Yeah. So how did you overcome that, and how did you,
Well, like 50% blind luck, and 50% the people around me. Fact. I mean, like, for me, to hang around and convince my brain that this isn't a dangerous place, this is a good place. I had to feel like connected.
Yeah.
I had to feel a physical connection with someone or many people to feel like they would understand me. Again, it's that vulnerability piece of, I know that I'm different, and I know that like that sucks because it's awkward sometimes, and sometimes, it just sucks. It sucks to be different. But like in the jiu-jitsu,
that's what makes us great, though.
That's
being different.
Well, also true. In the jiu-jitsu, jiu-jitsu's language is love.
Yes.
First, foremost, and always, right? So it doesn't matter how good you are, how bad you are, world champion, guy that just goes once a week, right? We love each other because we're there, because we participate, because we take on this challenge of becoming better, mentally stronger, putting ourselves in difficult situations with experts and people that are really good at this.
Yeah.
Like I referenced Andre before, world champion.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Twice.
Like,
yeah. Do you know, like, as a person who maybe hasn't felt empowered before, like, to come into a situation and to work with a guy like Andre Santino, anyone in this room really, and to be understanding of how you could be humbled, but how they choose not to. They want to teach you. They want you to learn always.
Yeah.
Like, that is the most amazing thing about this.
And I think we talked about this on the last show. It's to build on what you were saying, JP. You're in a room full of everybody in that room all wants you to get better.
Yep.
Every single, like, if you walked up to any person in that room and said, "Hey, can you help me with this?" They probably would, or they would point you and be like, "That's not me, but like, go ask Bob over there," or just to make up names. It goes back to that saying of a rising tide lifts all boats.
Yeah.
Even though we were Army, it's
Still the same.
It's
fact.
But it's such a wonderful, and my therapist is probably sick of hearing me say it, like how fortunate, I think we all are to have a community like that where it's literally a room full of people that all want you to be better at what you're doing and what we're all doing together.
Yeah.
And everybody wants everybody to be better. And it's such an awesome thing. Like, that's my most favorite part of the martial arts community.
And sorry, go ahead, Pete.
I finish your point. It's something you said a moment ago, and I wanted to ask you another question about that.
So I can't remember what it was.
So the one civilian in the room,
Pete.
So, like, obviously, you guys, all three of you, have experience with being deployed and going to war. And I think what's really fascinating for me, like, as a civilian, like, I was in D.C. on 9/11, and I got to see how wild things were. I'm not trying to say if I was part of, like, but what's wild for me as a civilian is that, like, to a large extent, most of us just, for 20 plus years, just went on with our lives. And there was the longest, most expensive war in American history happening. But for the most of us, like, we didn't have to mobilize as a nation the way we did for World War II. So it really didn't affect most of us. And then through this community, and also just meeting guys that have served, you get to talk to them. And it's fascinating for me is that they put you guys in this, they send you to war, and then they go home, figure it out. Good luck.
You got it.
You'll be all right.
It's like you said
There's
earlier,
resources.
And Pete and I think we talked about this probably the last show, but you said it earlier. You know, you're Afghanistan, Iraq, wherever you're deployed to, 2 plane flights in your home. You can go from a firefight to your living room in like 36 hours.
Yeah.
Which is fucking insane to me. And then they just go,
Yeah, you'll be fine.
you'll be okay.
Figure it out.
Listen, I got home day 1. 1 hour of being home, somebody shut a sliding door. I dove under a table.
Yeah.
It was like that fast of a transition.
Fuck, dude.
Coming back into a place where like your brain can't catch up. Am I safe? Am I unsafe? Default
Was it just
to unsafe. Protect yourself.
So, and that's where I really was what getting at is that, like, I notice it oftentimes, like you've shared with me, actually all of you guys have, and my neighbor Jim has shared with me that, like, going out and to public events, like a baseball game or something, is a wild stressor because you're head on a swivel the whole time, constantly danger detection. Like, I'm interested to know, like, how, like, what that's like and how you manage that day to day.
So again, another fortunate circumstance of having that service dog ranger that I talked about from Guardian Angels Medical Service Dogs that give veterans $25,000 service dogs.
Nice.
Regardless of what your disability is. They will train a dog to match up directly with you to help assist you living life, whether you're a PTSD person, TBI person like me, or someone that has physical disabilities and needs help, like picking things up or moving around. So I had that dog for 7 years, 7 years. And he was the catalyst to being able to handle that.
Yeah.
Because I was starting with Ranger. I went on it wasn't like a nationwide tour, but we went on a tour talking about our dynamic and how we do things and Guardian Angels and all this stuff. And so as a result, I'd have to go to like football stadiums and I would have to go to like professional football. I was on the field at the Dallas Cowboys.
Really, that dog earned his money.
Yeah, exactly.
That dog earned it.
Listen, 70,000 people screaming at the Dallas Cowboys game, and I'm on the field because they're announcing, talking about Ranger and I, so he enabled me to find the mental space to retreat to if I need to in those moments.
Yeah.
Without leaving and checking out.
Yeah.
Without finding myself in a hole somewhere hours later shaking in the fetal position or in a bathroom in a stall in the fetal position, so anxiety ridden that you're completely incapacitated. So that is how I was able to find that balance through that damn dog.
Yeah.
And I would tell every veteran, I am telling every veteran right now, if you struggle, do not struggle in silence. These dogs are the best things. They will change your life. They will change your life. And you say to yourself, what can a PTSD dog do for me? Let me tell you. Within 2 hours of getting Ranger paired with me, I had to go down to Florida. There's a whole training thing you got to go through. It's like 2 weeks. The very first day, they're like, take each other, get to know each other, go back to the hotel room, just chill out. It's a hugely anxious moment because you've just adopted someone that's 10 years into your family. Yeah. Or 5 to 10 years you're going to be with this dog, and hopefully everything.
And you're responsible
correct.
for that creature's life.
Correct. So we get back to the hotel, and I'm emotionally exhausted. I'm like, you know what, Range? You do you. I'm going to do me. I'm going to take a nap real quick. And I fell asleep on the couch and went into a nightmare cycle.
Yeah.
He woke me up. Wow. Seriously, 2 hours after meeting him.
Wow.
And he didn't wake me up and like jumping on me. He licked my face in such a way and so delicately that I came to out of the dream state enough to be conscious to say, oh, I'm not in danger.
Yeah.
Back to sleep. Wow. That was day 1, hour 2. These dogs, when you're out in public, right? And so this is to your question. When you're out in public and you have to handle those situations where there's people around you, the dog sits itself directly behind you, facing out. So all you got to deal with is this one.
So you don't have to deal with
Covering your six.
Covering your six, man. Legitimately.
That's awesome.
And people are like, well, that's cool and all. I'm telling you, as a veteran, These are the things that will change your life because it will show you that you can do it.
Yeah.
You can get out there. You can be a part of the world and of life. And maybe it's different than everyone else, but you can be a part of it. You have the strength within yourself. And so, like, that's how I was able to. Ranger trained me, which is crazy, but it's true. He trained me how to be me again and how to be okay with who I am.
Yeah.
He's a damn dog. He can't talk. Obviously, it's all action. And with what he did for me and how he taught me to kind of embrace the struggles and know that at the end of the day, even if you are in a heap and in your hotel room crying, so sad or like whatever, guess who's going to be there?
Mm-hmm.
That damn dog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're never alone. And so every veteran, if you struggle with PTSD, if you struggle with things from your service, issues from your service, do not suffer in silence. That is a tool that you need to utilize. It's literally free. Corporate America gives the dollars to be able to train these dogs, $25,000 a pop, and they give it to you. They give it to you. And so, like, that's how I was able to get to that point.
Mm.
And so I know it's a plug for Guardian Angels, but it's a factual, real thing that if you're a person and you're maybe not interested in sports, maybe you don't want to do jiu-jitsu or hockey or like, I also did scuba diving. There's a program called Undersea Warriors.
Yeah.
Right? So I did all that. Maybe that's not your bag.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't want to be all active out there, but you want to start to rebuild and become comfortable again.
Or maybe you can't.
Correct.
Maybe you're not
Yeah.
in that
Correct.
place.
You can't.
You need the dog.
You need the dog all the time. Because what else does a dog do? It's unconditional love.
Yes.
Yeah.
All the time. It's like being in a jiu-jitsu gym 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's all of that love. So I had people around me that I was utilizing services with, therapy and otherwise through the VA.
Mm-hmm.
I had the dog. I had my family. And at a little bit later, a couple of years in, I had the hockey team.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right? So I haven't talked about this at all with anyone, so I show this to you guys. So bear with me if it's not like the most eloquent, but I have to talk about it for me. I was full sail into the hockey, doing it all the time, finding comfort in that, and the way it all kind of synergized in my life was perfect. And then Ranger died. And it was like not like a long drawn out, you get to say goodbye. It was like 2 days.
Yeah.
You wake up one day and the dog, whenever he tries to turn, loses control of its bowels function. And not only is that painful because the dog's in pain, this is a sentient, intelligent, working dog. This is a dog that feels shame because it's doing these things that it has no control over.
Yeah.
And so, like, he died. But he died because I had to put him to sleep because there was no quality of life for him, no matter what we could have done. I stopped talking.
Yeah.
I didn't have the wherewithal
Yeah.
to bring myself back and be the person that I was there. And so that was why it was fortuitous that the Weedify and Jiu-Jitsu came along when it did, because I had the trauma associated with hockey, so it was very difficult to extract the joy.
Yeah.
The point of the exercise is to extract joy, right? To find purpose and joy.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it because there's so much trauma associated with Ranger being dead. And those guys are amazing in my family too, right? Obviously. And they get it. It's the trauma. So when the jiu-jitsu came up, it gets back to your other question too. I knew I didn't have really a choice. It was figure this out, right? And be the person that you saw yourself as when Ranger was there, right? Not to personify him too much, but like, and be that person.
Yeah.
Stop being fearful. You know that if the dog, in my mind, right? So if the dog can find goodness in me, and I find myself to be like the worst, other people will see it too.
Yeah.
And so it didn't matter how much I sucked at jiu-jitsu. It was rediscovering the joy again, to be able to blunt that trauma associated with Ranger being gone. And now here we are, like back active in hockey again, because jiu-jitsu carried me through. brought me through that trauma because of people like you. So changing people's lives, man.
Yeah, and that's, you kind of alluded to something there too, like with mental health, right? And then struggles and stuff. Like it's not like you get the therapy dog, or you get the right kind of meds or whatever, and everything's fixed.
No.
So you have setbacks. You have your dog pass away. You have something. You lose your job. You have something else that sets you back, and then it can completely derail everything that you've worked on for the past couple years. And I think some people, especially people early on when they're kind of working through their mental health stuff, they're like, "Oh, I'm fixed. Like I'm better now. Like I got for the sake of let's say medication.
Healed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did that.
Meds, I'm good. And then like something happens, and then like you're like right back in the hole.
Yeah, you're right back doing the same dumb shit you were, and like in the same mental, like the paralyzing mental patterns,
and that can even take you even
further. Yes,
the wrong way. And so I think people need to realize that like you're not always fit. Like it's a constant struggle.
Yeah. And you're not alone. That's the biggest thing, is people always think they're alone in that situation. And one thing that you can attest to with jiu-jitsu is we're all broken toys. Everyone's going through something, so you're not going alone. You're never alone going through something.
No, exactly. And guess what? When you roll around with people on a mat several times a week, they get to know you pretty damn well.
Dude,
and they know when you're on, and they know when your days are off, and they can tell, and they will ask. That's another huge
part.
part.
It happened to me. I've had people stop in the middle of a roll and be like, "Are you okay?"
Yeah. Seriously.
Dude, I've had conversations with dudes that like I don't even know their last name that probably know shit that I haven't told my therapist.
Yeah,
I'm serious. Yeah. Which is fucking crazy, right?
Magic, man.
But the
jiu-jitsu therapy.
Yeah.
Well, but the weird thing is, it's like what because I've been thinking about this a lot too. Is that like, why do we feel safe enough to share these things, right? And I think the explanation I came up with, I don't know if it's a good one, but it's like you're willing to put yourself in a position with someone where like they could fucking kill you if they fuck up. And like you're trusting that when you tap, they're gonna let go, right? Yeah. And that level of trust, that unspoken thing between the two of you, allows for you to just be like, well, we're not gonna kill each other. I guess I can tell this guy, you know what I mean? Yeah. So, and it's not like, hey, here's my deepest, darkest secrets, or here, guess what me and the wife did last night. It's not like that, but it's like you get to know people, you work with them a couple times, the next thing you know, like, hey man, what's going on in your life? How you doing? Yeah. Oh shit, I'm struggling because of X, Y, and Z with the job or the wife or the kid or whatever. Life, man. But like, I think that's why everyone feels comfortable to be honest, is because like we've also agreed like we're not going to kill each other. We're just here to learn.
Well, yeah. So with jiu-jitsu, right, you're vulnerable. That's a big thing.
I'm sorry, what was the word again?
Vulnerable.
Okay.
Venerable?
Vulnerable.
Vulnerable.
But that's
vulnerable.
Vulnerable.
We're here for you, though.
Yeah, exactly.
Air Force.
Yeah, exactly.
Special ops.
But anyway, so you have to feel that to heal, right? So in the healing process, you have to put your guard down and let people in.
Yeah.
I think jiu-jitsu does that. Because when you roll with someone, you have to let that guard down to be able to learn and overcome things with that person. And that's what kind of builds that trust, right? It builds, you both put your shields down and you're just rolling, but you're not really talking, but you're still making that connection regardless. Yeah. And now you feel so comfortable with that person. Hey, now you know when they're upset, hey, are you okay? And just that instance when you're not okay, and I don't know about you, when someone asks me if I'm okay and I know I'm not okay, it helps a lot.
Yes.
It makes me rethink about stuff.
Whatever it is that I'm going through. Because it's that like reminder, a direct and specific tactile reminder that I care about you.
Exactly.
I'm here for you. If we can Ezekiel choke each other to unconsciousness, we can talk about, like the things that are bothering us. And honestly, we should. And I think that people are like, they can't get over the hump. Well, I'm nervous to be in this situation, grappling. You're like, well, whatever. And it's like, well, no, listen. it is truly about submitting the ego
Yeah.
and being kind of within yourself. I know it sounds like mystical or whatever, but like it's very true though. Like it is jiu-jitsu is submission of the ego. And once you submit your ego and you can step back from it and you can say that I'm in a room full of trained killers and be okay. Like what else you got? How much tougher? Like you're in a room, literal trained killers, people that could just crush anyone in 95% of this world, 99% of this world. And here we are. They care enough about me.
Yep.
To ask me how to do it.
And talking about the ego, that's a big thing when you heal from mental health, any kind of mental health, right? You have to drop your ego and be able to talk to somebody, be able to express yourself. And when you do have an ego, you're in your head, the darkness just keeps building up and eventually it gets to you. And that's when, unfortunately you unalive yourself or, you can't deal with it because you can't break that ego to just talk to people. Even military talking to civilian. You know how hard it is for somebody who was overseas to sit down with a civilian and just talk about it? Yeah. Because we have such an ego that, we built up in the military, that the skills that we learned and how hard it was, we don't associate that with civilians or muggles, and we don't think they understand. But in reality, all mental health is the same, right?
Yeah, I think it's like it's hard to overcome the ego and admit that you're fucked up, but you can't get better until you admit that you're fucked up.
Exactly. Yeah,
it's step one.
Yeah, and it's like Pete and I. We all probably talk to therapists or see therapists currently.
Yes.
And I've talked about it with mine. She's like, it's like therapy's not for everybody. Like you have to be in the right frame of mind.
Yeah.
It has to be the right time. It has to be the right therapist. It has to be the right place. So I think a lot of them, and the mistake I made going into my mental health journey was like, if I do this, it'll fix me.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then you do that and then you're not fixed. You're like, shit. Okay, now I got to do this and it'll fix me. And then no, it doesn't work. And part of it too is you have to want to be better. And the other part is, like I just said, it has to be the right place, the right time, the right everything. Like you can't, like, I know, like in 2010, 11, like when it was super dark for me, like therapy would not have worked. I would just went and showed up and been like, I'm fine for an hour, and then went home
And that's your ego.
and drank myself to unconscious.
Yeah.
So.
But that's that's what jiu-jitsu does, right? It takes your ego and it makes you just that shield come down, and it's you felt it when you first started jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. Every day. To this day.
Yeah. So
yesterday, all the way back through the beginning 2 years, like every day you walk in there, you will find connection that will ease some of your ills. It's not going to fix everything. It's not going to be. You're not going to walk out of there and be like, "Oh, I have no problem. I'm perfectly fine." But you're going to walk out of there knowing that you accomplished what your goal was, which is to survive and to get better.
Yeah.
And you can walk out of there like that, and that's a huge, like, for veterans. And I'll tie this into the larger if you let me.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the current data 2022 report on unaliving. Caught myself there.
Thank you.
It was released by the VA. It's out there. The percentage per day is 16.8, 17 people, veterans a day.
Yeah.
And so why does that matter? Well, it's lower than it used to be, right? It was 20 to 22, we're at 17. It took $3 billion to get to 17.
Jesus
We can't
Christ.
To save 5 lives a year.
A
So
day.
this is my point, right?
Or save 5 lives per day.
Yeah, correct. But this is my point.
Just still.
So we have seen
Crazy.
the maximum, in my opinion, of what financial can do and institutional can do. What we need now is what you guys are doing here, what We Defy is doing, what the Pittsburgh Warriors and the Warrior Hockeys are doing,
All those
or undersea organizations. We have to engage with each other. We have to be there with each other.
Yes.
And we have to establish those relationships. We don't have, I said this, I did a thing called the Mental Health Action Day with Bugsy Malone last year, and we're doing it again this year, May 16th. We don't have a VFW.
Yeah.
We do, But that's not how our social brains work.
Yeah.
And I've heard from a lot of like
It's just a drinking
peer
club
veterans
sometimes.
that like a lot of VFWs can be pretty
That's what
toxic.
this jiu-jitsu, hockey, scuba diving, whatever it is, that's your VFW.
Yeah.
That's the people you can be on the level with,
Yeah.
care about you because you exist. Mm-hmm. And for me, I think that, like, I wish that I could just go around the country and talk to veterans and say, listen, did you know that there are 70 hockey teams across the country in every single state that would be willing and happy to have you? Did you know WeDefy has facilities in every single state? Thousands and thousands of facilities filled with people that are just waiting for you to show up and be able to love on you and care about you and teach you how to find the joy in life again. Like, but that's what it's going to take. We are now at a point where we've seen the financial saturation of federal dollars and state dollars, and I think what the maximum it's going to do. The rest, just like the saying goes, no one is coming, it's up to us, still applies.
But as veterans too, we also have to recognize that we can't do it alone as a community.
Correct.
We need civilians to help.
Yes.
So,
as well.
can I ask a question for this as the representative of the civilian community in the room? Like, obviously, we want to put all the links to this resources in the description box, all that. But like, what can we do? What can, as a civilian, like the vets in your area, the community, like what can people do to say like, I want to help out?
Just say that.
Yeah.
Say, I want to help. Raise your hand.
Yeah.
Volunteer.
Yeah. And
Go do something.
And
give
let-
money to veterans organizations that you feel strongly about.
But the biggest thing is we need to make that connection with mental health and make people understand that mental health is the same across the board. Whether you're a civilian, whether you're a veteran, PTSD acts the exact same way in your brain, regardless of what the trauma is. And we have to make those connections. And once we make those connections and we can get everybody on board, civilians, everybody with mental health on the same page, that's our goal.
I think too, sometimes like when you're struggling with mental health stuff, like you just kind of feel lost. Like you don't like what do I do? Like you're sitting, you left work and you're sitting in your car crying because you don't know if you can start the car and drive home.
Correct.
And most of the day,
and you're like, how do I get through another day? Like,
Or it's lunchtime and you're in the bathroom, in the stall, in the corner, not understanding why you're here on this earth and why you are back here and the people that didn't make it back, why they, that entire question, like, why am I here? And like,
And that even happens with civilians, man.
yes,
You
I mean,
know?
that's a common experience.
It
trauma cuts across the board.
yeah,
But that's the connection that we need to make. We got to stop, and I hate to say this, but we need to stop making it about veterans, and we got to stop making it about civilians. We got to come together as one.
There's
you know?
especially now post COVID and even
hell yeah.
the mental health epidemic. It's and it's so great to see now because I've struggled a long time with this shit.
Yeah.
And the resources that like with telehealth.
Yeah.
My therapist lives in Florida.
Really?
I've seen her one time in person. I've seen her one time in person. And I've been
We're
talking
living
to
in
her
the
for-
future, bro.
I've been talking to her for almost 5 years. I've seen her one time in person.
I think to your point, if you have a hankering to help people, regardless if it's veterans, people in your community, or elsewhere, what we have experienced, especially over the last 5 years, there are organizations out there that want to help. And if you want to help veterans, I'm very public. Come find me. I will help you find and connect with you.
Yeah.
Right? I will connect you with veterans. I will connect you just like someone else would connect you with another. Like if you have lost an infant or a child, I have a friend. She runs an organization that helps provide support in hospital and afterwards for parents that have lost children. And so I think if you have a desire to help, go on Google whatever your interest is and what you want to help, and then it pops up.
Not to oversimplify.
I mean, no, for real. It's as easy as it can be. Because guess what? There's other things. You don't have to necessarily donate or give money. Like there's an event called the Mutt Strut in Pittsburgh every year. PNC runs it and they sponsor it. And it benefits Guardian Angels and a couple other veterans charities and stuff. But they come, that time period is like a 3-month execution period, if you will, otherwise planning. And they come and they give that Saturday and the time leading up to that, fundraising, making awareness out there, doing all the things necessary. You can do that. If you want to just be a kind friend, that's something everyone can do. That's something anyone can ask, how are you doing? I think that if you don't want to go and you don't want to be attached to a specific organization or go like a specific targeted effort or whatever, just be a kind and loving person. You don't know what people are going through.
Yeah.
You don't know who was just in their car crying or who was in the bathroom crying or like doesn't know how they exist or why.
A smile goes a long way.
That's what I mean. Like, it's just small things. And that's Jiu Jitsu is love. And no matter what you do, no matter how your day is gone, no matter how you've felt about yourself, whether you walk into that Jiu Jitsu gym or if you're a veteran, you go to veteran hockey, you feel better.
Yeah.
People
And
care.
Pete, you've done a lot, man. Just by being in jiu-jitsu and being there for all of us, and I can attest that you've literally been here for all of us. And, you've seen me almost break down. And just by you listening has helped tremendously.
Is this the love fest? That's where we're all going to hug.
That's it. That's what it requires.
When I text you
He
last
loaded
night.
us up for that.
He did.
What can we do as your civilian saviors?
To kind of what and to build on what Pete kind of asked and what you guys were talking about, like, and I've experienced it too because I'm on the other side where I volunteer.
Yeah.
Not like when JP mentioned I coach hockey, I coach a hockey team for kids with disabilities, and it is one of the most personally fulfilling things I think I've ever done in my entire life. And I was in the military for over 2 decades, but like being able to coach those kids,
see the progression,
and they're not going to be the next Connor McDavid, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They can barely skate, but you know what? Those kids are having fun, and like they want to be there.
They're always happy,
and it's honest, like, and so that's the other side of it, where like getting involved, like it can be so immensely fulfilling, and I think a lot of people don't have that. Veterans and civilians alike, a lot of people don't have that thing that fills their cup back up. Because we're always pouring ourselves out. Here's some for Pete. Here's some. And at the end of the day, like, where are you getting your cup refilled? Where are you getting that fulfillment? So you can the next day, so you can go out and give back, and so you can you can call your friends and you can text people and you can volunteer. And do all this stuff.
One thing to put on that is when you do give back, make sure that you're healing yourself as well.
Yeah.
Don't just try to give back when you're not healing yourself at the same time, because it's
a balance.
It's just that's a key thing, because if you,
like I was just saying, you got to find a way. Like, yes, you're giving, you're pouring out of your cup, but you're also getting your cup refilled.
Yeah,
exactly.
And that's the thing. Like, I love the cup example, because like that, when my therapist first told me that, it was like 10 years ago. That if you look at your life as a cup and your daily life as a cup, and water is stress, and if you have PTSD or TBI or any affliction, you're already starting half full. You're already starting the day filled halfway with stress for the amount of stress that you are capable of handling for the day, or more. Sometimes it's 80% full. Yeah. And like, so it's not only like filling up your cup, like you guys said too. Yeah. I love that you added in there. It's also how you get people around you that can help relieve you of some of that stuff that's in your cup.
The thing I've noticed in talking to you guys and other vets is that you don't ever fill your own cup. It's always like, I got to take care of everybody else first. And that's beaten into you guys. It's like team first, right? So like so many guys that I talk to that have, particularly guys who've had like combat deployments, you guys come home and you're always doing shit for other people, and you're just physically and mentally drained all the time. Yeah. And like I started to notice that just talking with people that I talk to on a regular basis, and then I've talked to other guys, military guys, and it's like you're all exhausted all the time, and you're like, and you're always doing shit for other people, and like you never take a minute. And I think that it's just because you guys are trained. It's like it's everyone. It's team first, right?
Especially like JP and I. We were both. He was an officer. I was a senior NCO. Like, it's always like your soldiers first.
Yeah.
It's always it's you always put them over yourself. Like they eat first, we eat last. Like if they need this,
they sleep first. They groom first. They get downtime first. Like all those things.
They get to call home. They get to,
Yes.
And so it's even doubly, for guys like us, like we're always giving. And you give yourself away. You give all of yourself away.
Yeah, and you come home and it's like you're trying. I imagine, I'm assuming here, but it's like you have a wife and children, and you're trying to like give to them, because it's like I don't know if you guys feel this, but it's like I know certainly guys I've talked to. It's like I was away for a year, so now I got to double down and give extra because I got to make up for that lost time. And I don't know,
Air
it
Force
just
doesn't get deployed for a year. Just letting you know.
yeah.
Those people watching probably know.
I know.
But I think the point in all that being that like I see a lot of you guys just fucking drained, man, and I don't think you know how to shut it off sometimes.
That's what makes these things like this, the Weedify, Jiu-Jitsu, hockey. I keep echoing it, but that's what makes those things so important. Our best as a civilian, it's harder to gauge what's going on in a veteran's brain and why they're making some of the decisions that they're making. For fellow veterans, it makes it much easier to say, we got to call that guy.
Yes.
He's having a problem. Like,
And we know they're having a problem.
like we've had that situation several times on the Warriors where like we had a guy that we cut down out of the rafters and brought him back to life because he demonstrated those signals. And Dave Jackal.
Yep.
Dave Jackal, he fast tracked that 911 call through the system, gave them the specific address. They had he was gone by when they got there, but they resuscitated him. Wow. And so like, that guy would be dead. He would be gone. Yeah. Like he would be a statistic, no questions asked. But fortunately, there were veterans around him that understood not only the warning signs, but the person, like who you are,
and the face.
They knew him well enough.
Correct. And like that's wild. And that guy had been in the organization for like a month. 1 month.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, 1 month.
And that, we veterans, they put on faces, and if you're not,
I think everybody does that. Regardless of
yeah,
veteran
but what
or
I'm
not.
saying though is like it's easier for us to tell because we kind of know, what's going on opposed to a civilian, which is,
Well, I mean, that's my biggest struggle, right? I'm a piece of shit because I didn't die in Afghanistan.
Survivor guilt.
Yeah. Survival guilt.
I mean, like that's every single day I think about that. And like, it's hard to deal with.
Yeah.
It's hard to deal with.
One saying that I like to say a lot, and Pete's heard me say this a million times, is I always say weather the storm.
Yep.
And the reason why is because storms are bad. They could be terrible. They can cause damage. But at the end of the day, the sunshine comes out eventually.
Yeah.
You just have to bunker down, and you gotta get through that hard time, and eventually you'll see that sunshine. And I don't think a lot of people understand that. A lot of people, when they're struggling with mental health,
They just think it's never going to get
They just feel like they're getting kicked. They keep getting kicked while they're
in
down.
there.
Yeah.
In there.
like
Likewise.
for me right
Guilty.
now, you guys all know my injuries right now. Like the odds of my injuries and
Ridiculous.
stuff
the most
happening.
unlucky person.
The most unlucky person on planet Earth. Yeah, correct. I agree.
But what's getting me through this is you guys. It's not being able to train jiu-jitsu right now is really really fucking tough.
Yeah.
But I have you guys to lean on, and it's making it a lot better. And just thinking about that saying, but just going from like my injury at work to literally being able to go back to work in a day or two, and then getting hit by a drunk driver, and now I'm out again. And I can't do anything. I'm at home. I'm with the kids. I love the kids, but that transition. You guys have made it possible for me to get through all that. And when I was down and I didn't talk to anybody, fucking Pete calls me up and he's like, "Are you okay? What's going on?"
Yeah,
He's a hell of a guy.
because I hadn't heard from you in 2 days, and I'm like, I normally by this time I would have heard from him like 17 times with like memes or jiu-jitsu shit, and I'm like, I haven't heard from. Dude, you alright?
Here's the thing, like that. Just like, hey, you okay? Like in a text message. Like, to somebody that needs to hear that is the most powerful thing, and I've experienced it. Like, when
really
somebody who had no reason to check up on me at all checked up on me, like, at the exact, like, when I was most depressed, when I was most upset, when things weren't the way I wanted them to be, and that person checked in on me, and I took a screenshot of it, and I still have it, because I'd never, ever want to lose that.
Yeah.
I want to save it forever, because it meant so much to me. And that person will probably never even know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there was a cut like 3 weeks ago, and you were sitting on the bleachers, and you just looked pissed off, and I was like, "Go make Jeff laugh."
Yeah.
It took me 3 tries, by the way, but I got you. I got a fucking smile out of you.
But and I appreciate that kind of stuff.
But the point is like, I put so much investing into jiu-jitsu that I realized that, like, I needed other coping mechanisms, because I
Don't be
realized
defined by one thing.
Exactly, and that's what I'm learning now, because I did put so much healing into jiu-jitsu because it helped me so much, but I didn't diversify myself. And now, to be honest with you, I talk more with my wife now. I express, because I was forced to, and I had to let my guard down a lot more, and that's what gets you through. And if you're never alone, and that's one thing always, we always say to each other, and it's true.
100%.
Like in jiu-jitsu, we always say, like, we're trying to just be better than yesterday. And I think that translates to as a person too. Like, today I want to be just a little bit better than I was yesterday. And then tomorrow I want to be a little bit, like, it's not just like jiu-jitsu is kind of a microcosm of life. I guess we're a little bit biased, but it's a microcosm of life, because
No, we just experienced it. We know. We have the experience to know that it's amazing.
Yeah.
Like,
but, like that, it's a good mindset to kind of take into your regular life too, is like, let me just be incrementally less worse tomorrow.
Yeah.
And especially with mental health, because it's not I'm broke, I'm fixed. I'm broke, I'm kind of fixed, I'm broke some more, I'm fixed a little bit. Like, you're not, it's a constant process.
It's a constant battle.
For me, like, that was really something that was difficult to learn, to, like, because I wanted to be fixed. Like, everybody, like, you want to be fixed, but then you realize you're like, I'm never going to be fixed. I'm just going to be, duct taped and stapled and tied back together. Like, I'm never going to be like I was before.
That was on that point, and I think we're getting close on time, but like, that was, and I think for me, and I think for a lot of dudes, the concept of therapy is a struggle, because as men, like, we're fixers, right? Yeah. Garage door's broken, I'm going to go to Home Depot, get what I need, and fix that motherfucker, and then it's done, right? So when I started therapy, I was like, can we just, like, I'll pay for it. Can we just be here? Can we just sit for 8 hours and figure it out? And he's like, that's not how this works, dude. And I'm like, and I was like resistant, because I was like, I have a problem. I know what it is. I got to fix it. And it's like, we're going to talk for an hour, and then you're going to go home and think about this for a week, and it's going to be uncomfortable. And then you're going to come back, and we're going to talk about that. And we're going to keep doing that for a really long time. And it was a year and a half of working with my therapist before he finally goes, do you want to talk about, I won't say, but X, Y, and Z? And he dropped it, and I was like, oh, no, that's all great. He goes, is it? And I was like, okay, all right.
touche.
Yeah.
And then but that's, I think, as a dude, is like, I just want to fix it. And to your point, Jeff, it's like, I'll get fixed, and then maybe you get broken a little bit more, but it's incremental. You're not done. You're never done. And I think, to a large extent, and you kind of alluded to this earlier too, it's like, we've got this, like, every form of entertainment we could possibly imagine everywhere. Like, even if you're stuck in traffic at a light, like, well, see what's on Instagram.
Yeah,
like,
yes.
It's constant stimulation, but what we really actually need is, like, connecting with other humans.
Yep.
And that's why I think, this,
And for lack of a better term, that's what keeps us alive.
That's what I would say to any veteran that's listening, watching, or hearing this. Stop suffering in silence.
Yeah.
Stop being alone. Come talk to somebody. Come talk to me. Come talk to any one of these guys. Yeah, we don't
here.
Like, I don't know if you've heard throughout the course of this, but I am just as broken as the next dude, right? I have as much baggage. So don't suffer in silence. We have to look out for each other. And regardless if that's, paddling boats or playing hockey or doing jiu-jitsu or scuba dive or whatever, don't suffer in silence. It exists. There's something that's out there that we can connect you with that will make a difference in your life. Yep. You can find joy again. You are worthy of it.
So on that note, we're going to wrap it up, JP. So this is going to be kind of a fun round. We're just going to ask some random questions. And so the question for you is, what is the funniest moment that you had in jiu-jitsu so far?
The first time, I know actually, the first time I rolled with, there's two moments that stick out in me. Two very specific moments. The first time that I was silly enough to talk trash to Santino and say that I'm going to roll with him.
How'd that work out for you?
Not great, not great. A bow and arrow choke. It's funny because the next story also deals with a bow and arrow choke. So I have never felt like my spine was going to snap more than whenever he had me in that boat. So
Was he chewing gum too?
Yeah, he was not even
Blowing bubbles.
He was no, guys, he was talking to someone else as he was doing this to me.
Just so you feel it, Kurt, so you feel better. He does the same thing to me.
I mean, I
so
get it.
He doesn't even try.
Listen.
Same.
I think he has a third arm. And
Like he's just checking his phone.
He's checking Instagram.
Well, so that was one funny instance.
Posting.
And then laughing at you, taking selfies. There was another instance with Don. So Don is like if you don't know him, one of the nicest guys, most kind people I've ever met.
Yes.
And an absolute weapon.
Assassin,
So-
yes.
Absolute weapon.
There's another brown belt who I've trained with for a long, long time. And Don, if you're listening to this, we mean it all in love.
We love it.
Yes.
That he and I kind of have, for years now, been referring to Don as the Ted Bundy of jiu-jitsu.
I mean,
Yes.
he's
He's
just
clean cut, you
would never know.
attorney, he looks like your accountant, or he looks just like, your next door neighbor that's really nice.
until he puts his hands on you.
Yep.
And then,
And
you're-
then like that was the funny thing. We were working bow and arrow chokes conveniently, and Kurt and I were doing it, and Don comes over, and he goes, "No, you gotta." We were all the way through the move, and when we were placing me in the back and doing the actual bow and arrow, he goes, "You gotta go like this," and my whole back goes, and like adjusted me, and I went, "Oh, you adjusted my neck, Don?" He's like, "Oh, yeah, great. Like this.
I love Don because
best.
like his cross choke, you're like, it's coming,
Yeah.
you know how to defend it, but you can't.
There's
Stop
nothing
it.
you can do about that.
he's been doing cross chokes since I was a white belt.
It's unbelievable.
Like was just getting his blue belt when I started,
That's unreal.
and he was cross choking people out back then too, and you couldn't stop it. And he's only been practicing it now for over a decade. So
Imagine if you're the guy in the street that decides he's the one.
Yeah.
Like, imagine.
I mean,
Who's this? Don the Razor?
but think about that though. Like, if you were a person with ill intent, he would be
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
older guy.
Yeah.
Not that big.
Yeah.
Like
Skinny. Looks skinny.
Very professional
in a suit.
professional
Yeah.
player. Yep.
Freakishly strong.
I told him he adjusted my entire back with the
Yeah.
manager.
it's the old man dad stream.
What question do you have, buddy? For JP.
Oh, dude, you're putting me on the spot.
I am
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Welcome back to the show.
Oh, thanks. Does a wild, funny question?
Anything you want to ask him? That's
an
what this is about.
AMA.
Oh boy. Fuck, dude, you guys are killing me. You know what, dude? I would say that, like, because you and I, we started roughly around the same time, right? Yeah.
White belts.
The worst.
Because I know the answers for me on this, but like, what your understanding of the sport in particularly, like, what has changed the most for you since you started?
So, I figured out you cannot memorize all of these specific movements. But what you can do is, as you're going through them, and this is the way kind of Santino stacks the tree.
You don't have a photographic memory?
Come on, now, right? Seriously. What I had to do was I started having a journal.
Yeah. Okay.
And so that allowed me to get that knowledge base. And now what happens is
For the white belts that are watching, listening,
Yeah.
journaling is a big deal.
do this.
man.
Write it all down.
Because listen, you know, if you go and you got smashed the entire time, or you sucked at something the entire time, you're going to want to remember that so that you can fix it on the back end so you don't suffer the consequences of those.
Exactly.
So what happens is once you start journaling, what you see in my experience is you can start to see the things happening before they happen as you're doing them live.
Yeah, for sure.
You can start to see how they're, like, where's this guy going? What's he doing? Like, Kurt and I were joking about this the other day. He's like, because I crossed my ankles, and he was like, oh, you have no rings. I was like, well, just trying to bait you to grab them. So, that's what he was like, I'm just going to try what you like. That kind of stuff, I think, comes after you make the admission and you defeat your ego and you say, guess what?
I'm garbage.
I am an absolute beginner. I don't know anything about this. I don't have a fundamental understanding, but what I care about is I can show up, I can have a positive attitude on the mats, and I can be friendly with everyone. Like that. Those are the three things. Like if I were,
Yeah.
Pete has me saved in his phone as the grumpy brown belt.
Yeah.
I mean, but that's your role.
Wipe out some
That's your
people,
role.
right?
We're not real.
Yeah.
Like we're NPCs. We can just be nice.
I'm the main character.
You're the
Yeah.
main character.
Well, I said this last week, but
love it.
like these crazy people, they haven't seen Did you watch Queen's Gambit?
No.
You suck too, dude.
See?
I mean,
He's on.
So that's the analogy won't work, but there's this point like she visualizes
The
like
chess- the
chess game.
chess.
Yeah, she's freaking hot too. So like it's a
Okay,
good,
all right,
but
fair.
she visualizes the game on the ceiling, right? And it's like the analogy I make is that like to the point you just made where you start to see stuff is like I see the game on the ceiling, but I only get like I'll get like a 2-second snippet.
Yeah.
You know, and then I'm like, oh, that, and then and I just want to see more of it all the time. That's it. You know.
So Jeff,
It's not Sam. Sam.
so Jeff, what question do you have for JP?
We'll go. So you already did like funny jujitsu, like army and military guys like to tell stories, right? Quick funny story from your time in the military.
Ooh, I got a good one. So we were in Afghanistan.
Something to preface this, like the people that are listening.
Yeah.
A lot of times when you ask a veteran for a story, you better buckle up because,
Yes.
and you better suspend disbelief because what they're going to tell you is probably something you're going to think that they made up.
Yes, you're gonna get the mumble face.
So I'm gonna go with the PG story because I have many that are not, but we're gonna go with the PG story.
PG-13.
So we're in Afghanistan, and my buddy Sean Maples, he was a platoon leader, and he had he loved Halloween. Called that. He loved Halloween, and he was talking nonstop. Oh, I wish I could have Halloween out here. Blah 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 blah. And so he ordered a Gumby costume. Right? So he was a tall guy. And so there was the day that we went out on a Halloween patrol and Sean Maples was dressed as Gumby, handing out candy to the kids. That was amazing. You should have seen the looks. Should have seen the looks.
He had a kid over a Gumby costume.
Oh, yeah. Well, no, he had just a Gumby costume on with skin underneath. He looked like just a Gumby guy walking around, doing strapped
With an M4.
with an entire infantry platoon, airborne platoon following around. So that's one funny story. He did that. He passed away from cancer. Get screened. Get screened. If you were a GWOT person, get screened. Skin cancer is real. The other thing he did to me that was so funny, it was like the second or third patrol we had been out on together. And we were like in a static position, hanging out, doing something, waiting for something. And everything got like too quiet.
Yeah.
When you're a veteran, you get that like everything's too quiet. Not like a danger, it's too quiet. Like somebody's dicking around here.
There's the officer.
I don't trust anything that's happening right now.
Spidey senses.
No, it's like when you have toddlers and all of a sudden you hear playing in the next room and then it goes silent and you're like, oh shit, something's going on.
Listen for the cries. Well, out of nowhere, here comes Sean Maples with a snapping turtle. I don't want to go.
Snapping turtle.
This big, and I was turned looking out like the window. I was happened to be sitting on me and looking at 1151. And I'm like, what is that? And before I could process it, he goes, here you go. And tosses it into my face. And so, I have this gigantic turtle. I think it was a snapping turtle. It was a giant lizard of some type. Or amphibian. It was ridiculous. But that's Sean Maples. He was that kind of guy. He's the kind of guy that when you weren't looking and he want to have fun with you, he's going to have fun with you. Like, we had these bug sticks in the hooches, obviously, because there's a lot of bugs over there. Well, they get filled with bugs on the outside, and it's pretty funny to smack somebody in the face with one of them. So that was another thing. Like we were all.
It's pretty funny.
Pretty funny. I mean,
Ladies and gentlemen, our best and brightest.
Yeah, right.
Our officer
Save the
corps.
world. That's
Our
it.
officer corps right there.
$1 million+ of training right there.
smacking people in the face with a bug stick.
And more importantly, where did he find a snapping turtle in Afghanistan?
Listen, brother, I was just as surprised as you are. I'm like, what the hell is going on, Sean? We're in the middle of a mission right now. What are you doing, man?
He got it shipped in a care package.
He was on the ground. He was crying. He was laughing. He thought it was the funniest thing ever. Like, again, that was just who he was. He was just a goofy guy. But I have a bunch of other stories I'll tell you.
Well, we're gonna wrap this up. Thank you everybody for
especially thanks
listening.
to JP.
Yeah, huge thanks for
The star
JP.
of the show.
Yeah, man.
Thanks for tuning into the Post Trauma Podcast. We appreciate everybody, all our listeners, everybody. Once again, you guys aren't alone. Feel free to reach out anytime.
And like I always say too, check in on people.
Yeah, for sure.
Both sides.
And we'll
kind.
hell yeah. And
Hey, we're all from Pittsburgh.
Yeah,
We're all raised on
Yinzers.
Mr. Rogers.
yeah, right.
Be the kind of person Mr. Rogers thought
Exactly.
you could be.
All right.
And just as a quick, we're just going to throw all the links to the organization, everything in the description box. There's a lot of important stuff we want, resources, so
Reach
check
out,
them out.
be kind.
We're up. Thanks, guys.
Love you guys.